Hey everybody, welcome to TLDM.
Heard of it?
Love it. I'm Tyler.
I'm Alan.
And we are two DMs sharing a world and creating two campaigns inside of it that we both play in.
That's right.
We had a real humdinger of a campaign session today.
And we recorded it.
That's right.
So be on the lookout because after this episode, I think we'll be probably 2, maybe even potentially 3 episodes in a mini series of the podcast that is just the recording of our live play.
Yeah.
Probably what I'll end up doing is going through it and editing out the long pauses where we like look stuff up or do dice rolls because those just aren't fun to listen to.
Yeah, there's also an extended amount of pauses where we're talking about either things that we are actively seeing, like food, or talking about like, well, really it's we talk about food a lot in it, but it was entertaining. Other than that, the only other thing super on the docket is the Monster Campaign has ended.
It has. The Suicide Squad of Monster Campaign was successful.
And how did you... so let's jump into that.
Yeah.
Alan, tell us how it all wrapped up.
So the Monster Campaign is over. They were dropped off on the outskirts of Port Stevia and ended up basically destroying the entire town.
Yeah, we done good in terms of blowing it up.
They commandeered one of the 5 ballistas on this like pentagonal city wall and turned the ballista on the other ballistas on the wall. Eventually, Krat used it as a crossbow.
Yeah,
your character as a wizard cast enlarge on himself.
Yeah, I became a giant lizard person.
Yeah, you did go Godzilla on the town.
It felt real fun. I had honestly been saving that spell
specifically for
that purpose the entire game.
Go Godzilla.
Yeah.
And with the help of the barbarians and Lucy, with her new 2 giant greatswords, managed to cleave their way through town towards the foundry where all of the blasting powder is being synthesized for the mining expeditions, and they lit that place on fire. And it exploded.
Yeah, we let that mother burn.
Yeah, and about 3/4 of the town went up in smoke immediately. And they hunted down a bunch of survivors and then returned to their homes as heroes and champions. And that's kind of, we did like a post-credits sequence where we got to see like how everyone was received and what they were up to.
Like the return to the Shire portion.
Yeah, which was really gratifying because campaigns that have definite ends I've never really done before. Yeah. So what it was like, I was like, oh well, this is over.
Yeah.
So fuck, what do I do? Like, I just say the end. But I think I find it, and I mean, I assume it was nicer this way for you guys too. But I found it much more gratifying to like pass the reins over and just be like, you know, the thing I had planned for you is done. So why don't you tell me like how you want to release these characters back into the wild?
Yeah, that's my the one time that I've gotten to end a campaign was my preferred way to do it. Also, was to be like, yeah, you tell me what happened next, and then it became like a fun thing where sort of similar between like the character Gondis and the character Garf, of like, I do this. Oh, well then this has what happened to me. Oh, okay. Well then this is what then happened to me after that. Becomes fun as long as everybody understands that it's like you can't win the epilogue.
Right, yeah.
So it's like it doesn't matter. It's like all just fun anyway.
Yeah. So that campaign is over, and everyone, I think, was happy with it.
Yeah, it was very fun.
So,
yeah, it was interesting playing. My dog is so far under the couch.
She's really got to be something under there that she
something
wants.
Juicy good.
Like there's like half a bologna sandwich down there or something.
Yeah. Or maybe a full bologna sandwich. But we don't eat bologna, so it would be more confusing than it would be liberating.
Someone has come to your house and eaten bologna.
Yeah. So it was interesting playing Krat as just like, and playing that knowing that we were going to do less sessions sort of enabled being like, cool, what's the shortcut to doing the most damage as quickly as possible? So like when we went into the mines and just blew up the mines in one session as opposed to like doing a crawl was like, this is very fun.
Yeah, just like, it was very like run and gun style.
Or like crap picking up the ballista and just being like, cool, I'm just going to like use this to do stuff. Also getting to play like an evil campaign so that I could be like, cool, I'm going to send a message like I was supposed to back to the mainland. And so I put Nabundo in a rowboat, or his zombie corpse in a rowboat, rowing endlessly back against the streams of time with a boat full of the skinned faces of all of his compatriots.
Yeah, and we'll see if he makes it there before the duration of that spell ends. So we'll see. Do you want to talk about a little bit, either more about that, how that campaign felt from the inside of it, or what next? You have planned?
I'll say what's coming next. Yeah, so I haven't I've done most of my planning in the last day for it. I presented two kind of basic options, which was there's this country called Farum in the broader continent of Zapad that's the Sheeran campaign. And I had decided that was like a half-orc country. And based on how Leslie Badapple has been kind of constructed for our Palindo game, I was like, oh, it's fun. I think Farum is basically a Wild West type area. I think it's like rough Scrabble hills and like a lot of like dealing with that, and that like orcs are rough, very rough parallel, or have some like overlay parallels to like Native American tribes in terms of how they are treated relative to other, racial groups in that area. And that seems fun. And so I was like, that could be cool, doing like a Wild West one. And then I had also just been like, I've basically looking at the monster manual and just being like, man, like when would I ever play Yetis? Like I'd never get a chance to unless I specifically did an Arctic campaign.
Or like a Remmerhaz.
Or a Remmerhaz. And I was like, well, that would be fun too. So I presented those options and everybody more or less picked the Arctic idea. So we're going to do an Arctic campaign. And then in the last day, I've put it together. So, because Aaron and I have been watching a ton of DS9. That's our like show to fall asleep to. And so the idea of doing like an away team mission of like, you guys are all experts sent somewhere, also sort of like a 1800s like science expedition, like sent by the crown thing, felt really fun, like interesting to me just to see how it affects team dynamics, like, or group dynamics. If it's like you're the exobiologist and you're the navigator, and these are like what you guys are here to do. I'm curious to see if it affects gameplay, like role play, in terms of like how you get out of situations and stuff. Especially if it's like, I'm the navigator. I also happen to be like a great old one warlock, but my job is to be is to navigate.
Right.
What I do in my free time is sort of in the way that it's like on those away teams. It's like, well, I happen to be a shapeshifter, but my job is to be
like
the head
doctor.
Of security.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, sometimes these things relate, but at other points in times, it's just, I happen to be a shapeshifter and mainly I'm good at headlocks. And so I'm curious to see that. And then I was able actually to figure out a way to make it connect. I get to sort of explore the Tambaki of Zapad and have them start to play a role in that campaign, which will be relevant to the larger like geopolitics of our main Sheeran campaign, though I don't know if you guys will ever experience any of it because you guys are fairly geopolitical.
Yeah, and we're dumb.
Yeah, and especially now.
Yeah, some of us are undergoing what I have deduced to be a transformation.
Yes.
But we'll get to that. Yeah. Probably not in this episode. because I think
we'll leave it for the experience
for once it's resolved.
Yeah, we'll see. Woof.
So, I mean, I announce it in the Let's Play or live play, so you'll hear that.
Yeah, there was a lot session-wise that happened this session that will have immediate and long-term consequences.
Yeah, I feel like my character's on the verge of some kind of nervous breakdown.
Kind of what I'm going for. I'm basically trying to have a ticking clock to the entire scope and focus of the game just dramatically shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm curious to see what happens after that. So far it's been fun with that in mind to play towards things, because it's kind of like, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but it sort of feels like playing to end, almost like end a pretty significant chapter of the campaign, and then go into like part 2 of the campaign, or like a whole different, like almost like, you know, this, like the next one will be like sharing campaign Tokyo Drift or something. It's the same campaign, just like a new, or really like a different campaign almost, but same kind of characters and like world.
Yeah, and
we'll see how it goes.
Vin Diesel has like a really short cameo at the very end.
Yeah, but as I was reading, that cameo got him creative rights to the Riddick series.
That's why he did it?
He did the cameo to get rights to Riddick. And then because of that cameo and how poorly Tokyo Drift did, he got creative control over the Fast and the Furious.
And I mean, everything since then has been pretty good.
Yeah. Great. Including Fate.
I haven't seen Fate.
It's okay. It's like completely okay. I read a article, I think on like 538, that made the argument that he does the Fast and the Furious movies like it's a D&D campaign.
Interesting.
Where it's like the characters just are constantly leveling up, and it's all about the characters and not really about the plot. Like it's all just watching the characters go through permutations and have stupid external stuff happen to them. And like how villains become friends and like get roped in to fight greater threats, and that they're basically like...
Yeah, because The Rock was originally one of their adversaries, right?
Yeah.
And now he's like
one of the main dudes.
Gang.
Yeah. And in Fate, not to spoil, I mean, it's in the trailer, but what's his name? Bald dude that is British. Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Jason Statham.
Mm-hmm.
He was a bad guy in 7, and then, or 6? And he was in one of them. In 7, he was the main bad guy. Everybody hated him. And now he's like, by the end of the movie, he's like just another one of the gang.
I mean, but I like that.
Yeah, but he killed somebody. He killed part of their family. And it's not cool in my book. Anywho.
Well, I don't know. If a character killed someone in our party and I had an opportunity to take over that character, I probably would.
Yeah.
Because that'd be interesting.
Well, we did have, before this session, our live play session, in the previous session on our campaign, we did have a character death.
We did.
The first in the sharing campaign, right?
And we sort of had another one today.
Yes. We'll leave that one again, but...
Mark McGrath
died
at the very end of session last week.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Which I can't remember if we talked about when we recorded last week or not.
We didn't record last week.
We didn't record last week.
Yeah.
So that's right, because I had to leave.
Yeah.
So last week's session we can talk about.
Yeah.
And boy howdy, we got routed. The most, I think, pivotal moment of it was the very end of the session where we realized we were in way over our heads.
Yeah.
And we had to bail. Yeah, that's never happened to us before.
Yeah.
And we found ourselves in yet another situation where Soaking Paw had to put another party member on his back and skedaddle.
Yeah.
And I daddled.
You daddled and he got diddled.
Yeah, he did. He got shot as he was unconscious on my back, making death saves as I ran away. Mark McGrath was shot in the bottom. Like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
And died.
Yeah.
He died.
And then how did you try to prevent that death?
Was I trying to prevent it?
I don't know.
I wasn't trying to prevent there's nothing really I could do to prevent the death.
No.
What I was trying to prevent was
that's right.
Mark McGrath dying and subsequently shitting
loosening
on
his
me.
bowels on you. Yeah.
which, man, oh man. I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again. We just talk about poop a lot.
Yeah, I want to point out, because of the sewer session, I got a lot of the focus of it. I didn't talk at all about Mark McGrath pooping himself. That was you two escalating each other.
You two? No, that was Jeff.
I mean, yeah, Jeff said it, and then you said you were going to put your thumb in his butt to keep it from coming out.
Well, because I was like, all right, enough of the poop stuff, so I'm just going to stop her this.
I'm just going to put a thumb in it.
We'll put a thumb in it, and we'll be fine. But it ended up, it didn't matter because he just pooped on me anyway.
Yeah.
Which I should have known better.
Yeah.
Very minor spoilers. Wasn't quite as dead as he appeared.
No, it turned out it was just a flesh wound. Or was it? There was a question I wanted to ask you.
Great, let's do it.
I wanted to ask you about, like, in-campaign one-shots.
Yes.
Like, the idea of... Because that's what I have planned, without doing anything else. I have planned of doing something very different and then coming back to our game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about that, and I was wondering if you've done that before, because different than a side quest, like playing with like one person, if only one person can show up, or if you have like an hour before and you do like a prequel or a sequel sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this would be like for one session being like, we're going to do something totally different.
Totally different as in like, we're just going to do this thing, or totally different as in like, we're going to do this thing and it's going to be non-effective to what is happening continuity-wise? Like, is it happening within continuity or not?
I think either way, but I think it's like either... So I guess it would be either happening outside of current continuity or happening in continuity, but not to the same characters.
Oh, I see.
Like almost,
so you'd have everyone show up and roll a new guy.
Yeah, or
I think that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it. I would expect at very least that this one shot took place in the same world.
Yeah.
Or like, took place in such a way that it paralleled events that were happening in our game. So like if we were questing for something specific, or like had to just run into somebody, like playing a one shot that shows like what's going on concurrently to that is impacting our world, could be really fun.
Yeah.
Or like if there's like a we're questing after a specific item or something, and then we do a one shot campaign that shows like the guy who, like this old, let's say like this old lady wizard, like made a powerful item, and she scattered its pieces around the world or whatever, and she was basically hunted down and assassinated, and that's like the one shot is like trying to unravel that mystery,
right?
And then that like helps add context and shed light on like what we're doing in the regular game. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah.
I think the key is to just not make it feel like, I don't want to say a waste of time, because like it's a game, like, yeah, right, it's not like productive time to begin with.
You're not going to make money on your character at a certain point,
right? But I know people play the game for different reasons, and I know for a lot of us it has something to do with like story progression or character progression, and or just like we like finding and like exploring things and finding cool new stuff. Yeah. And taking people out of that can feel like you're pulling the rug out from under them. Right. So just finding a way to balance it, or like, I mean, at very least to be like, hey, next week I'm planning on running
this one shot.
Yeah. I feel like we're just adults, so we talk about stuff, and then
that seems to be like a good rule of thumb. I was thinking when you were saying that, of like the shards and stuff, that would actually be kind of cool. It would take a lot of work, I think, but it'd be cool to do at the start of a campaign, especially if you've done like a lot of world building, like the world that you've created for us, to do one shots in different areas. So like a one shot in Chithelin, a one shot in Bustel Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
A one shot in Slag Bula, like just showing these different things, and each one is a session, and each one people are creating characters, and then after like 3, be like, great, pick the character of the 3 that you like the best, and that will be your character for the main game that's going to start 6 months later or something. So everybody has like this political context and all of these things, and also a chance to try out different characters and kind of see what feels fun to them. That could be really cool.
That could be really cool.
It would just take a lot of work on your part because you'd have to like do a ton of world building and like make it very active.
I think it's also an amount of work that PCs aren't usually used to in just making more than one character.
Right.
And I know, I mean, a lot of people have like 10 they're sitting on that they're dying to play.
Yeah,
which
right.
is like what I have going on.
Yeah, right.
But that could be really fun. I think as with anything, as long as you know your players, you can pretty much do anything you want.
So true. Yeah, so the other part of it that I think is fun is you get to, as the DM, you get to like take a break for a second and stop thinking about momentum in terms of like, well, what comes next and what comes next. And the sort of classic, if this, then this, however, this also happens, like the sort of like narrative vocabulary. You get to like skip all of that and go, meanwhile, or like, but first, like some like huge skip. And then you get to, and then at the end, basically get to go anyway, and then go back to your game.
Yeah, you do like a George Lucas star wipe or whatever, and you just,
which I think will be pretty fun. It also gives you a chance to play like for example, the one I have intended, we've been playing in a fairly social based, like an urban environment thing. And so it's fun to like be like, okay, cool. I'm going to do this because I get to do like a different environment without having to go through the work of like, let's do the journey to get there and stuff like that, which is, I think is just way better.
Yeah. Travel. Because I really like an element of travel in just games like this in general, but it's really hard to convey the scope of travel and still have it feel fun or like interesting. Yeah. Because I think I like the idea of like making the world feel big and like different and like there's stuff going on all the time. And, you know, if you want to take a boat from A to B, you're going to see a bunch of shit on the way and like the weather's going to change and like the climate when you get there and the layout of the places and the like architecture and the like topography is going to be completely different. But it's really hard to like do that because while you're doing that stuff to play, there's nothing really for the players to do. Yeah,
or the reverse happens, which is while you're doing that stuff, it's like, well, why don't we just stop and play with this? Like, well, I don't want to go to B anymore. I just want to, this is cool. I want to do this, which is fun. But if you do have any sort of like mission goal or like things that are in the hopper, like developing, it can start to, you can totally ignore that and be like, cool, let's play with what's fun and do that. But the problem can be then at some point that will no longer be fun. And then everybody will be so far off from where you had built anything before that like once they get bored, you don't have any way to like bring them back. Cause you've like ceded complete control as opposed like, so really the only way to do that is like, let them start playing and be like, cool, this is now the way to get to this.
Right.
So that it's not like, oh, well, shoot, I guess all of the stuff that I have planned doesn't work. It's like, no, just make the doorway appear in the bottom of the ocean instead of in the mountain.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what seems to be like a useful way to do it is depending on the scale of stuff. I mean, I'm just a big fan of like push as much work onto your players as you can get away with so that it's like, great. 3 days later, you guys are pulling up, and you, like, Bruciarn, are telling you guys, you're reminding them of that crazy experience you guys happened 2 days ago, which was, of course, and then, like, let them say it and be like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. You're right. It doesn't affect anything other than you saying it, but you're right. You
but
did.
It might.
You guys scared off a dragon. You're right. You completely did. And then in my head, it's like, oh, they didn't scare it off. It's just like going to get reinforcements. Cool. Good to know. But you guys said it, so it's real.
Or like there was something even scarier behind them that they didn't notice.
Right. They're now being followed by like
some fucking horrifying blob monster.
Yeah. Or I feel like the other thing you can do, depending on the scale of travel, is if it is like we want to go to, I mean, like I think you did this basically in the Palindo campaign of like we're gonna go here, and it's like great. You're in the middle of the ocean. There's rough weather, and two sailors have been shifty, and just like bump forward into the sort of middle of way later, and let them have to like struggle to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're then doing things of like you're talking to the person that you've grown closest to in this ship, blah blah, like who of course is. And let them fill in those things. Mm-hmm. And then they can kind of jump on like basically making the travel, like skipping to like making it clear that a bunch of cool shit has already happened that we're not even bothering to talk about because we have to deal with what's currently happening. It feels like a good way to just be like, this is what travel feels like.
Yeah.
You guys you're a little lost because now you have to figure out how to fight on land. I wish there was a way that it didn't always have to be fighting, but I guess that's really just what D&D is.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot that can be done about it.
No, this is the game. The game in a nutshell.
You're good at punching.
Punching is fucking my forte, dude.
Yeah. Second only to kicking.
Kicking, I mean, I think I'm even a better puncher than I am a kicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm one punch man.
You are. Although you're like one round of punches, man.
I'm many punches in one round, man.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you.
Yeah, hit me.
What did the elves do?
The elves?
Yeah, like, here's the thing I've noticed is there's a ton of monsters in the Monster Manual that have, like, they're like, if we see an elf, that's the one they're gonna hit. Or, like, they hate elves. Or, like, they used to be elves and now they're they're, like, quaggoths or whatever.
Yeah, right.
So what did they do?
Like lore-wise?
Yeah, because everyone hates... Dwarves don't even like elves, and they're like reasonable people.
Although, and I just realized this again, ghouls can't affect elves.
What do you mean?
Like ghoul poison doesn't work on elves.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of bullshit. At least in the Monster Manual, they say that the original ghoul was an elf,
right?
And then was saved by the elf gods because they took pity on it. And so ghoul stuff doesn't work on elves, supposedly. I have ignored that rule because I don't care.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel fun.
Weird.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. I mean, my answer is, I would guess, is one of two things. They live a long time, so it's a long time to piss people off.
Yeah.
2, I guess I have a couple answers. 2, they're pretty hoity-toity.
They are hoity-toity.
And, like, they always kind of are off doing their own thing.
It's hard not to be that way, though, when you live 10 times as long as everything.
True.
Like, you know, I love my dog.
Yeah.
But when my dog is, like, I don't know, lying around the house, I'm like, I got my own stuff to do.
Yeah, right.
I'm a human being, and you're going to live... I mean, I love you to death, but, like... Yeah. You're going to live like 15 years and you're a dog.
Knock on wood.
And elves probably look at people like that where they're like, yeah, you're smart, but you're not, you're smart and I like you, but you're not like, important. You're not an elf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
but that's why elves bother me because it's like, it just doesn't quite make sense to me because it's like, if you're that long lived, I guess I buy in, like, I guess the solution to it is that their gestation periods are just super low. So they just have like, very few offspring. Because otherwise, it's like...
There should be elves fucking everywhere.
There should be elves everywhere, and they should obviously be like, controlling everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my third thing is, I think they might just be really tasty, like jerky.
Oh.
Like well-seasoned, well-aged meat.
Yeah, but they're like lean, too, so there's like... You know, even if you're a ghoul on like a diet, you can still eat.
Yeah, you can have a couple elves just for kicks. Here's a question I have for you. How do you feel about gnomes?
Like, will I allow them in the world or something?
Just in general, because I that gnomes get a lot of ire. Like, a lot of people hate gnomes.
I don't hate gnomes. I mean, I don't hate it. The only player race I dislike is Aarakocra.
Yeah.
Or Arakoa.
Yeah.
Whatever. The flying bird people.
Yeah, right.
And it's because I think flight too early causes major balance issues.
Sort of like feline agility.
I think feline agility also is a major balance problem because it's a free dash anytime you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do have problems. I use it because it's a racial trait that's available to me.
Yeah.
But when I built my character, I did not realize how powerful that could be.
Yeah.
And it is overpowered. We should tweak it, honestly.
I mean, I would if anybody else was ever going to play Tabaxi, but if it's just you, I don't really care. Because it's like, it's similar, as we've talked about before, because at the end of the day, I don't actually care about killing you guys, or like...
Oh, we're going to kill ourselves, obviously.
Yeah, like, I don't care about beating you guys. So, like, I don't care if you guys win encounters a little bit faster than I expected. Because it's like, that's fine. Also, just like, actually balanced fights are pretty dull.
Yeah.
Because they go on forever.
And they're also just... There's just dice. There's
yeah.
no, like... If they're actually balanced, whoever rolls well is going to win.
Yeah.
But as far as gnomes go, no, I don't. Like I said, I don't hate any of the player races for being whatever they are. I think they're all like interesting and different options, and that should be available to people. I think the reason gnomes draw ire is because they tend to be played in an annoying way.
Yeah.
Where like people are like, I'm a gnome and I like whatever, and I can see why that would like grate on people. But I don't care. I think goofy characters are fun.
Yeah.
What have you seen that draws like hate on them?
People seem to. I don't know. Like
just that they're small and like
they're small and they're sort of magical, and they have like resistance. They have like advantage on a magic saves, I think, and that they're just generally like, yeah, like very twee. And very like, ooh, hee, hee, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, but I think a halfling could be played like that.
I know, that's why I don't get it. I think halflings are as annoying as gnomes are. I love playing gnomes.
Yeah, I think, well, like the comparison is like halfling is to human as gnome is to elf, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think, I don't know. I mean, there are races that easily lend themselves to being played in like an annoying way, or like easily abusable. But I think that's a player thing. It's not like some universal truth that they're like a shitty race.
Yeah, I wonder if you could make it that gnomes are half elf, half dwarf.
That's already exists. A dwelf.
A dwelf.
Yeah.
Boo.
Or a mule, they call him.
A mule. Yeah, from. Dark Sun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dwelfs are like ugly fuck shit.
I bet.
People.
Because gnomes are one track of a thing. Well, because gnomes are in charge of this new campaign. And the gnomes of Tombach I'm curious to unveil because I've got plans for them to be fairly influential in terms of like world history, but only as it relates to themselves, which might relate to everybody else and stuff. I just like it was interesting, like being like, cool, I'm gonna make gnomes who don't like arcane magic, and what would that be? And then they just ended up being like rigorously like super religious, like a caliphate sort of thing with polytheistic stuff, but are still obviously interested in learning. I just like characters that like to learn.
Dude,
you know what? Dwarves can suck a duck because they're boring.
I mean, I'm planning on building a knowledge cleric, so I feel you.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, bro. I just like hidden books, man.
And you're gonna be an elf, right?
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah,
I'm not sure yet because I might be related to another character, and I don't want to pigeonhole them into a race.
Right.
and I don't care, like, lining up stats to whatever. I was just thinking that I wanted to make, like, a really obnoxious character, and like we're saying, I think Elf is really fun for that.
Yeah.
I think that's why gnomes draw hate. Is because I think for people who want to play serious campaigns, it's really hard to, like, truly imagine this, like, I mean, they literally just look like the Travelocity gnome. Like, they're like little tiny children people in, like, weird little, like, Scandinavian clothes, and it's, like, hard to, like, take that shit seriously.
Yeah, honestly, people being like that and then, like, playing Tabaxi or like lizard person.
Well, I think that works the same. That's the same thing. Where, like, I'm sure those races draw hate too, because I'm sure there's plenty of people like, I'm a Tabaxi and I'm a cat, and I like, yeah, I'm a cat person, and I want to walk around naked all the time and be like a cat and I'm drinking milk at the tavern, and like, like, nobody wants, like, I mean, I'm sure there's groups for that kind of player, and I'm not saying, like, if you play a Tabaxi like that, you shouldn't play D. I'm saying, like, I can see why people who want to play certain styles of campaigns
would annoy other
like,
type
immediately
of people.
eye roll when someone picks that as their player race.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think, you know, if you're with the right group for you, I'm not saying there is a universal right group. If you're with the right group for you, any option should be on the table because the play styles will line up.
True.
If you want to play a furry campaign,
hell yeah,
all
do
means,
it.
Like,
that
go play your
fun
like
as hell. If you think playing furry is fun,
yeah, dude. That's not really what I want to do.
So for this upcoming, I guess I'll still call it the Monster Campaign, but it's like the Arctic campaign. I had toyed with the idea of being like everybody has to play the same race, because I think that would be kind of fun at some point to just do a game where everybody is basically just more familiar with each other.
Yeah. I'm about to force you all to be warlocks, so whatever.
Ooh. Really?
Yeah, I'm toying with a Ghostbusters campaign.
Ooh. Wait, for the monster spinoff? That would be very fun.
So,
like, Eldritch Blast
can't cross Eldritch Blast streams.
Oh,
and you guys are just like fucking ghost hunters.
I would be down for that for sure. But what if you were going to make a party of one race? What race would it be?
To do what? It depends, right? Like, to align with.
It's a D&D game.
Period. Is it our world?
It's in our world.
I think. Well, there's two routes to go. Off the top of my head, I would say human, because I think, especially with the variant human rules, which I know are often considered overpowered.
Ugh, I don't care. I think they're great.
But, like, who cares? Yeah. And I think the reason they're overpowered is the exact reason that I would, if I was going to make a race stipulation, that I would make a human stipulation, is that I think they grant a flexibility to build your character the way you really, really want it to be built.
Yeah.
So that's what I would pick, because I think it's a way to conform everybody to a single race without feeling like I'm boxing them in a way that, like, if I made everybody be a half-orc, it's like, well, fuck, kind of feels like Wizards off the table. You know what I mean? Right. Or like, well, shit, I guess I can't be like a dex-based character because but we roll for stats, so like, who gives a shit about any of that?
It's like not that hard.
It's not that big of a deal. But I think it just feels bad when you're like, oh, but I was kind of hoping to be like a mystical, like, sneaky, bookish type, and that doesn't really align with like the world's conception of a half orc, or like, you know,
that describes less bad apple.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but he still gets treated like a half orc. And, you know, I think people think about what they want their character to look and feel like before, or at least I tend to, before they start thinking about like what they want their specific abilities or classes to be. Yeah. I feel like you get a concept in mind for like a thing you want to be or do, and then you like kind of go through the handbook to find the like character creation like pieces that best match up to what you're attempting.
Yeah.
And that shoehorning people into one of the more exotic races can fly in the face of their
I agree with that. I find for me it's always my character creation is always okay, I want to be a bard. I can't play a bard again. So what can I do that will feel like as fun to me as a bard that's not a bard?
Yeah.
Because I love bards.
That expertise is hard to give up.
I mean, it's so much fun. They're just good at everything.
That's why if I'm going to play a cleric, I'm going to play knowledge cleric because I basically have expertise.
It would be fun to play 4 bards and just play like
a traveling band.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
A traveling like super powered band like the holograms. What's that cartoon?
Josie and the Pussycats.
Josie and the Pussycats.
Is that really what you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Jet and the holograms, maybe something similar.
Benny and the Jets.
Benny and the Jets.
That's what we're thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Although I do think it would be fun to make an all kobold party or an all goblin party.
I think it works better with a monster thing. I don't know why that feels better to me. It's because it's like
specifically though, it feels more fun with small monsters.
Yeah, well, because then you feel like you're in a gang.
Right.
Like if I'm like, you're all Dragonborns, you're like, cool. Then you go home and you make your characters individually.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, all right, you're all goblins.
Yeah.
Then you're all like,
I'm Squelch.
And I'm Squee. And we're Squelch and Squee.
That already sounds really fun.
Yeah. And like, you're a barb and you're a barbarian and I'm like a ranger.
Yeah.
And I just like net people or like tie them up and then let you wail on them as I laugh hysterically.
Yeah. Also, the one thing that I do before we go, one thing that you started doing in that as a bit because I was prodding you to, but I was like, this is the most fun thing I've ever had a DM do. Was
giving backstory
to enemies as we approach, where it was like, wait, what's this guy's name? And then you having to name it, and then
they were asking me for like things their characters would never ever know or find out.
It was I think we asked you a name, and then you're like, do you want me to describe him, like clearly intending like physically, and we were like, yeah, tell us like what he's going through.
And I was like, great, here we go. So like they were all like these nuanced like people with like issues and like secret wants and like fears and shit and then you murdered them all. And
that
like
was so fun.
The characters never found out any of that shit.
No, it was just like his name's Brian. He's always trying to impress his father.
But he can't.
So he went into the guard to do that. He's got a bit of a gambling problem, but he's probably going to be able to get on top of it if he's able to stay with his girlfriend, but things there were rocky. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, I slice him through the throat.
Yeah, this was like in initiative order. And I was like, great, well, you killed him, Brian's dead. And then they'd be like, great, who's left? And I'm like, Chester. And they're like, great. Where did Chester grow up? And I'm like, oh, fuck, all right, here we go. So it just became like a game within a game of like them trying to force me to create like fully realized 3-dimensional people for them to murder.
Yeah, well,
and then I took it a step too far and made my wife cry.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if she was really crying or not.
I think it was like a fake.
I think she was.
I think she was upset, but
yeah, I think she was. She was using her abilities.
Cry.
Yeah, all because you followed through on
a promise she made.
A promise she made. She said she'd kill everybody around her.
And I was like, yeah, there's like bystanders and children here. And she was like, are they dwarves? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, I have to kill them. And I was like, well, don't put that on me. I didn't make that choice.
Yeah, you didn't. You made dwarf children. You didn't declare that you would kill all dwarves.
No, I didn't brazenly put all my eggs in the kill all dwarves basket. I just made a world that has dwarves in it.
Yeah, and
I created things and you're killing them.
Yeah.
How am I the monster?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And we're playing an evil campaign. Like, I did nothing wrong. You know what? In retrospect, I did nothing wrong.
You did nothing wrong. Yeah, it was funny realizing, like, I might have been the only person who actively played actual evil. And even I wasn't really being super evil so much as just being like, I mean, I eat people.
Yeah.
That's what I do. That's
You're
my
just
thing.
Hungry.
And once they're dead, they're not people. They're just stuff.
Well, it's just weird. I think the other half of it was, it was clear and became more clear as we went on that this campaign had an analogous feeling to like we can call it colonization or invasion, whichever you prefer, of the Americas by the Spanish and the Portuguese and the eventually English and French.
Yeah.
And there just felt like a lot of similarities there, but we were playing these quote unquote monster races as like the native peoples. And it's hard to feel evil when you're like saving your homeland. Like they were playing races that in the books, there is no other alignment for these characters.
Yeah, right.
Like in the monster manual, if you're going to be an orc, sorry about it. Like you're evil.
You're a bad guy.
You're just evil. It's in your alignment. It's like part of your nature.
It's what Grumsh declares.
Yeah, you're just like if you're a god, there's no good goblins. Like there just aren't any. And it's because good and evil in the D&D universe don't work like good and evil, and like you do good or evil in real life,
right?
But they are actual like tangible forces, that control and have causative effects on things in D&D. But it's hard to play that campaign and feel evil when you're like, yeah, well, these motherfuckers showed up and started chopping down trees and killing us. Yeah. So we're going to turn them away and make sure they don't come back. And then when you win, it feels like a solid, satisfying victory as opposed to like this evil guy wins the day.
Yeah.
Like the humans felt like bad people in that.
Yeah, it would. Another like thing that would be fun that I almost wish I had thought of to do is it would be fun to play. Cause how many sessions did we do for the monster campaign? Like 5?
5, something like that.
And was that how many you had planned for it?
I thought it was going to go longer.
Okay.
But like you said, you guys found like the most efficient ways to do things. And I have no problem with that. Yeah. So you were smarter and more capable than the obstacles I created for you. So you beat them. That's just it. I'm not going to drag it out for an extra 2 sessions just because I thought it would go 8.
Yeah. My plan is for our session to go 4 sessions.
Great.
I'm expecting it will go longer, but that's what I'm setting up for. But what I wish I had thought about doing was having then, since it was like 5 sessions, we won, to have the next session be mercenaries who have gotten the news about this defeat and are being sent back, and then just keep playing each time, reversing and being the opposite side against yourself, and just in this escalating thing, so that it's like you're just playing.
So you're hunting. You're doing both sides of the.
So that like the next time you're like the mercenaries coming to hunt down whoever it was that destroyed this town, and like maybe you destroy a village. So basically, be like, we're gonna play an evil campaign, but it's always both sides are evil.
Mm-hmm.
Or just be like, now we're gonna play the good campaign. You guys are gonna be these shitty ass mercenaries who are sent in to kill people. It would be fun to just play like both sides of an opposing force over and over the course of like multiple campaigns.
Right.
One final question for you, Alan.
Great.
April was the month of many unearthed arcanas.
Yes.
And now it's over, and we're back to a once a month spread situation, which sucks. I like
the UAs.
The UA Mondays.
The classes, the subclasses especially were.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Of all of April, what was the unearthed arcana that you were like, that is the tastiest of these treats?
The juiciest. I think the one I was most looking forward to was Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going back a little further than April.
Let's go from like of 2017 because that's when it's been.
The one I was most looking forward to was Fighter, and then I was a little underwhelmed by a couple of the options, and then Samurai just feels like a big fuck you to Barb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just like, you know, I mean, the way we run combats rarely last more than 3 rounds, so that activated ability is basically just like, honestly, a better rage.
Right.
And because you still retain all of your like basic fighter abilities on top of it. But anyway, so that was the one I was most looking forward to. And then I was like, at the end of the day, I was like, well, probably just gonna stick with Battle Master just because that's the coolest.
Yeah.
And the one that actually ended up like surprising me the most and that I liked the most was Warlock.
Yeah.
Especially because of the new invocations.
Yeah, that was cool.
Honestly, I just feel like Warlock is now objectively the best class.
Yeah.
Because it's extremely flexible. They made Blade Lock viable, which I think was a shortcoming of the class, was that if you're going to play Warlock, you basically were kind of pigeonholed into playing Chain or oh god, what's the other one? Tome, yeah, Tome Lock. And now the class just feels like there's so many options to mix and match.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you pick your patron, you pick your pact, you picked your like pact feature, you pick your invocations, you have spells that you can pick off your spell. Like there's just so much. There's so much. It's the most customizable class now.
Yeah.
And it was already basically. It's the most customizable class, and I think that flexibility is super interesting and powerful. And I've already always liked Warlock because I think the idea of you getting your powers specifically from an entity is super interesting from a backstory and like character development perspective. Right. And the stuff they added just is fucking rad. It's just lit. I don't know. More of a love letter to Warlock than it is specifically about the UA, but
it was a pretty love letter though.
Thank you. What about you?
I have a few. Most immediately in terms of play, the first level spells that they released.
Expanded spell list
was real fun.
Interesting. You used a couple.
I've used a couple. The ceremony one is the one I really like because it finally gives you a way to make holy water in world in a way that's like just like fun, and it gives you like it's one that's like a fun ritual to have for a cleric because it's like all of the duties of a cleric basically mechanically sorted out, so it's like you feel like you are able to be a patron like priestly. Of your priestly, which is very cool. So I thought that was fun. I like the 2 feats ones. Specifically the ones where it's feats based on skills.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool.
I like that too, because
the racial ones aren't as fun to me.
And it does, I will say this, that really does make variant human even stronger.
Yeah.
Because having the +1 and the +1 often ends you up with an odd stat somewhere, and grabbing especially one of the better feats on that list that relate to skills not only bumps you up basically to an extra point in your stat bonuses or ability mods, but it also grants you additional abilities on top of it, which are, some of them are great.
Some are very cool.
Especially if you're building specifically towards certain things. And they
like
also...
a grappler.
Right, like a grappler. So like having expertise in athletics where you couldn't have it before as like a barb or a fighter or whatever is huge.
It's dope.
It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, with the racial feats, I think what I would probably do is adjudicate a thing of like, you can, if you're, a Dragonborn, that you can get one of those Dragonborn feats level 1 in exchange for one of your ASIs.
Right.
And be like, or the +2 ASI, like whatever that is, give that up. But yeah, I thought the ones by skills were awesome. And I'm the one that I am surprised at for myself next time I make a character, I might make a mystic.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Just one with the body stuff.
I don't like it.
Yeah, tell me why.
I don't like it. I think it doesn't feel distinct enough to me reading through it.
That I agree with.
It feels like a combination of caster classes and like monk to me.
Yeah, honestly, I would play it as a better version of an alchemist.
Yeah, it just seems like a more flexible. It's basically like if monk had a subclass that was like the arcane trickster or eldritch knight equivalent, it would be this, because it similarly runs on a resource of points, and it similarly has access to like magical abilities and like depending on what you do, basically spells.
Yeah, still gonna try to make one.
Okay,
I'm gonna secret it past you. I'm just gonna call it a monk.
I would allow, like, in one of these like monster campaigns, I would allow a mystic, if this was like the mystic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like you were experimented on, and you know you have a fucking
giant brain.
Yeah, honestly, I'm trying to find more reasons, but it really just boils down to this sort of lame, flimsy, like, just don't feel good.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Those are all the questions I had for you.
They're all the questions I had for you. Speaking of monks, I'm going to go ahead and say, in case it hasn't come out yet, my Doc Ock level 12 character was I made one of two, or I made two versions.
Uh-huh.
I think they've already been released on the web by this point, but I'm just going to say it so that it's said somewhere.
My Spider Monk is also that I made it. It's done.
It's a Spider Monk?
Spider-Man the Monk, yeah.
One of my Doc Ocks is a monk. Is of the four elements.
Okay. Explain.
He's a bugbear, so he's got the reach.
Right, makes sense.
And he uses the four elements to do the fire tendrils, the different things that'll give like a 30-foot range to either pull or push, and those are reflavored to be the tentacles attacks.
Gotcha.
Of Doc Ock, and then he uses because he can climb up vertical spaces at level 9 with his
monk ability.
Yeah, monk ability, and I think maybe give him like 3 levels of Battle Master just to give him a sense of like to give him another attack. A few times to simulate another tentacle attack, and to give him like a sense of he's like good at sussing things out. That was one version. My other version of Doc Ock level 12 is 12 levels of Artificer. We've got a human who's mechanical companion. He's a giant octopus.
Right.
Swap out his swim speed for a climb speed, and then plop him on. And he is a weapons master with one of his feats, and he's a dual wielder with his other feat, and he rocks 2 whips.
Yep.
To be his other 2 tentacles.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. So it's just like whips and octopus tentacles, and he can climb.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty solid.
That's the best I could come up with. And that way you attack the octopus, and the octopus just like goes around his chest and carries him.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Would Spider-Man just be open fist?
Yeah. He's open fist monk, and there's a multi-class in there with rogue.
Oh.
Because we need proficiency with stealth, obviously, and acrobatics.
Right.
And by that I mean expertise.
Right.
So, and also because Spider-Man does do some sneaky stuff.
I'm surprised stealth and not perception, just to recreate the Spidey
sense. I actually toyed with the idea of going 2 deep into Barb just to get danger sense.
Oh.
But rage doesn't feel right for Spider-Man. Wisdom, he's obviously like wisdom and dex based.
Yeah, because with great power comes great responsibility. That's a wise saying.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking the rogue would go into Arcane Trickster so that you could get access to web, the spell.
Ooh.
But the other option would be to just take feet for it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm on the fence. I think he would have to be a variant human because there's just Spider-Man is too well rounded to not like you have to have expertise.
Yeah.
So you got to go rogue. He also the sneak attack bonus I think is flavorful. And then you have to find a way to get spider climb and well actually you don't need spider climb because of monk.
Yeah, right.
And then I think the open hand abilities, like being able to knock people prone and stuff like that, flavor wise match up to Spider-Man's typical fighting style, which is like bounce around very quickly to a lot of different people and like generally incapacitate them, right? So you're knocking them flat, you're gonna like shove them around to keep them off of you, because the key is and I also went rogue for uncanny dodge, because nice. The key to Spider-Man is you can't touch him.
You can't.
Like it's not even so much that he's so powerful as it is that like you just can't hit him. He's too you can't even shoot at him. He's too fast and he has precognition.
Yeah.
So it was tricky not to go a couple into wizard to get portent.
Sure.
Which also would solve my needing access to web problem. But I think we can make do with the Magic Initiate feat and Rogue.
What would his cantrips be?
Subclass. I think I didn't really map out his spell list too much beyond the two that I knew I needed.
Yeah, I gave
cantrips.
For let me see if I remember.
They'd be off wizard spell list, right? So
for Doc Ock, I gave him for the things that he made. Goggles of minute seeing, so that he's wearing the goggles. A helm of comprehend languages, so he's wearing like a cool hat and can talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Because he's real smart. And well, who are we doing next week? Or next time we record?
Let's. Well, you were talking about Deep Space Nine.
Ooh.
Why don't we create? Why don't we take dibs on a couple of Star Trek characters apiece? One apiece.
I'll let you go first because I've got too many favorites to name.
I will take Data.
Ooh,
I'll go
that's
TNG
a good one.
and I'll take Data.
That's really good. The problem is Odo is clear far and away the most fun on DS9, but that's you just do an Eberron changeling and then make him a fighter the rest of the way.
Too easy?
Or a monk the rest of the way. Yeah, so it's a little too easy.
What's the name of the lady who was a Borg?
7 of 9.
7 of 9.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
I'm going to stick with DS9 because that's like my wheelhouse right now.
Yeah.
Watching a lot of it.
That's the one I'm least familiar with.
Oh, it's real good.
Actually, no, that's a lie. I have not watched a single episode of Voyager.
Oh, it's also pretty fun.
Yeah.
There's a holographic doctor. Hard to beat that.
And she's like stuck in the on position. He? Stuck in the on position? He's
stuck in the on position. It's very fun. Let's see. So who's my second favorite DS9 character? So I'm going to go with Kira Nerys, Major Kira Nerys.
Okay.
A Bajoran freedom fighter.
That'll
be a little harder for me to figure out what she does.
Well, so we'll figure that out for next time around.
Great.
It's our character class challenge sheet.
Alan.
Yeah.
I think we're drawing to a close.
Which means it's time for you to give me the phrase of the day.
Yeah, the phrase of the day. Sometimes you're going to roll a d20 and you're only going to get a 3. But just think about this. Some days that d20 is just a d4. And then you got a 75%.
Wow, truly uplifting.
Thank you. It wasn't my best.
But I feel good.
Oh, good.
Take care, you guys. We'll see you next time around.
Bye.